All right. And it's live in the Facebook Launch Lab Online group?
It will be in just a second. I'm going to start that process right now.
And Rebecca, how do I say your last name again?
Casarez.
Casarez. I'll probably butcher it. Just
it's okay.
Casarez.
I mean, technically I butcher it too. It's not really authentic. It's how I can pronounce it.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody. We're just gonna give everyone a chance to come into the virtual room. And if you want, please drop into the chat where you're calling in from. We'd love to hear where you are. And if you're in Bunker Labs programs or in a VIR cohort right now, let us know.
Jersey City in the house. What's up, Jersey City? Backpack for Life team right there. Woo woo. That's right.
All right.
Des Moines, Iowa. What's up, Iowa? How y'all doing out there today? Everybody's out hustling. I know everybody's working on their ventures. Fort Hood. What's up, Fort Hood? I'm from East Texas, College Station, Texas, too. Love it. Thank y'all for tuning in, dialing in. Pittsburgh. What up, Pittsburgh? All right. I see you, Pittsburgh, PA. Let them know.
Man, we've got everybody here today, the whole nation.
Yeah,
Austin,
lots of Texas.
What's up, Austin? I'm an Aggie at heart, College Station, Texas.
I played the Aggies in tennis in college.
Awesome.
I loved going to Texas to play tennis. It was like the best weather.
Wildcat, you're cool. All right, all right.
All right, we're almost up and running on Facebook. If everybody just gives us a second, continue to put into that chat.
College Station, Texas. I hear my background. Is that coming in somewhere?
Oh, it's on Facebook because we are now live. So we are up and running. We've got a watch party. I am dropping, if you are calling in on Facebook, I'm dropping the Zoom chat in the comments, and I encourage you just to go ahead and click on that link and join us in Zoom so that you can ask your questions live. I want to welcome everybody to this town hall brought to you by MetLife. My name is Liz Marion, and I am your community manager for Launch Lab Online and your virtual event producer. So I want to welcome one of my teammates who's going to be facilitating this conversation today, Mike Stedman, who you also might all know because he is also the founder and CEO of Ironbound Boxing in New York. So Mike, I'm going to let you take it away with our town hall guest. I encourage all of you, if you have a question for Rebecca or Mike, either one, drop it in the Q&A chat just below in the Zoom. It's at the bottom of your screen and it's 2 chat bubbles. And again, if you are calling it on Facebook, I encourage you to go ahead and click that Zoom link and join us right here in Zoom so you can get your questions in. We will be taking questions through the Facebook comments, but it's a lot more fun, I think, to join us right here. So without further ado, Mr. Mike Stedman, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. What's going on, everyone? Super excited to be here today and hope to provide some value to all you out there. We've got a great guest, Rebecca Casarez. Sorry, Rebecca. Sorry. See, I got too excited. I need to slow down.
That's our married name right there, Erica.
But I will tell you, Rebecca and I'm really good friends with her husband. Got connected with him through the Bunker Labs network, and super excited to have her on here today. So, Rebecca, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Again, as Mike said, I hope to provide as much value as I can to all of you. My name is Rebecca Casarez. I am the president and co-founder of ProAdvisor CPA. We provide virtual accounting, bookkeeping, taxes, payroll for small businesses and startup founders nationwide. And we're very excited to be able to fill that gap for you guys.
So talk to us about what it was like to start an accounting firm. What led you to do this? Because I know we have people that are on right now. Maybe some are military spouses, such as yourself. How did you feel comfortable enough to kind of step out on your own and launch this firm?
Well, it's funny. I don't think anyone's ever comfortable enough to start anything. There's always, in fact, you're always going to be a little bit uncomfortable. Otherwise, you're not really trying hard enough, in my opinion. You're not really growing enough. But for me, it was when my husband Eric, was in the Army, and he was doing his thing in his career, and I was a stay-at-home homemaker and trying to survive through that whole process, going, what can I do to also provide for my family. So I went through figuring out what I'm good at, what I like. Accounting really stood out to me. I've kind of always been on the accounting side. So I went for my CPA. That was step one. And then step two was really going, okay, well, now what? Do I want to continue to go down and work for firms that I didn't feel was really built for the next generation of business owners? Very, very brick and mortar, very traditional, didn't really see eye to eye on a lot of the small businesses that we have today. So starting on my own was really out of a passion to help and communicate better with the business owners of today and tomorrow.
What was it unique about that you thought you would bring to the table? So, one of the things we talk to the entrepreneurs about is this value proposition, problem, solution. Talk to us about your value proposition.
Yeah. So if you've ever worked with a CPA before, a lot of the issues that I saw was communication, lack of communication, lack of access to CPAs, especially during tax season. And the fact that they weren't up to date on technology, or the fact that they weren't really business advisors. They didn't understand the entrepreneurial path and different stages of it. So they couldn't really advise on it. A lot of it was based on taxes and basic bookkeeping and payroll, but no real strategy on it. So my value prop is the fact that, one, I understand you, I am a business owner. Two, my entire vision is to help entrepreneurs attain their financial goals, grow profitable businesses, not just tax shelters, and enjoy the journey through entrepreneurship. And that's what I do every day. That's what helps me stay up in the morning. That's what helps me get up in the morning and really strive for that. So my value prop is really just about that whole problem solution. We are a fully virtual firm since day one, no hourly billing since day one, unlimited access to our team since day one, because we really felt like those were friction points in the traditional CPA firm.
All right. So people are listening to this right now and they have an idea for a venture or a startup, something that they want to get started. And I'm assuming when you started your accounting firm, did you jump right in? Did you have a full-time job? How did you navigate that space to actually getting it up off the ground?
So I was in between. When Eric got out of the Army in 2016, we were trying to transition into where we're going to live, what jobs, that whole process. So I was transitioning in and out of one that wasn't really a good fit for me. And then all of a sudden I got one lead for, hey, do you do taxes? It was right around tax season. And then it was, hey, do you do bookkeeping? I need help with my QuickBooks. Of course I do that. I've been doing it my whole life. And it kind of started this thought of, well, maybe now is the time to go out, and maybe now is that time. So I didn't have a full-time job. We were all in. Eric joined, and he helped create ProAdvisor CPA. And without his vision, it would be not as good at where it's at today. He was really integral for that. So we were both all in from day one, from the start, really.
Did you have to bootstrap it from the ground up?
We bootstrapped it from the ground up. We've always been very frugal with that. So I'm a big believer in it, especially if you don't really understand finances. Getting into debt or equity solutions could actually hinder you. So not that we understood it, but we just were bootstrapped from the beginning.
So you hear that, listeners, right? The two bootstrapped entrepreneurs right here. Don't think you got to go out and raise a lot of money to build your dream job. All right. You can do it. You got to hustle and you got to grind. And I'm sure you talking, Rebecca's going to keep giving us some more nuggets. So quick question though. All right. Because I've been following you all from the beginning. Remember, I met your husband at a VAR event, and before it was called Green Ledger CPA, correct?
Yes, it was.
Talk to us about the pivot, because you went from Green Ledger to ProAdvisors.
So ProAdvisor is, we were Green Ledger CPA. We wanted to, in the beginning, not have it be connected just to me as a person, which a lot of professional services do. Their last names on the door, brick and mortar, bring everybody in, and it's all about them. It's not all about me. It's about the businesses that we serve. So I wanted to make sure that was, so Green Ledger CPA was the name that we came up with. We wanted to be eco-friendly because we are fully virtual. We're a fully paperless company. We also like the fact that my husband was a Green Beret who then helped me start this company. So there was that connection, but it fell a little bit on marketing. So ProAdvisor CPA, as we are pro advisors to our businesses, we are QuickBooks Pro Advisors as well. Every single one of our team has to be. So it was really about pivoting into making more sense to the customer point.
Makes sense. So who's your perfect customer?
Perfect customer. So we have really strong core values. Our core values are get it done, get better, and get happy. Our customers are kind of held to that same standard as our employees. So if our customer wants to grow a business where they can get it done, get better, get happy, and enjoy that journey, they are the ideal customer for us. I said earlier, we don't really work with businesses that want just tax shelters. A lot of them do that. So it really is more about how can I grow something? I want to hire employees. I want to have bigger, better businesses. I want to serve my customer base, whatever that is. That is the ideal customer for us.
One thing I'm excited to have you on for this town hall to talk to our listeners about is, like I've said in financial workshops, right? I have a for-profit and I have a nonprofit. And somebody asked me in a workshop, I remember that, not me, but somebody asked the speaker of the workshop series, should you get an account and should you have them on retainer, right? And everyone in the meeting, right, there were people that were like professionals working in marketing, working all these different stuff, and they're launching their businesses. But so many people had their accounting just jacked up, right? And I kind of like still paying stuff out of their personal account. And I just kind of remember raising my hand and being like, I have an account on retainer. I have a for-profit. I have a nonprofit. All my T's are crossed. All my I's are dotted. I got separate bank accounts for each. I walk around with like 6 credit cards, you know, for personal, business, nonprofit. And I understand the value of what you bring to the table. And it's so hard, I think, for early stage entrepreneurs to just understand how crucial that is, and your services. Can you share a little bit more light for us on what are some of the mistakes you see young founders making, you know, early stage entrepreneurs, whether small businesses or startups, with regards to their finances?
Yeah. So for me, I think the biggest mistake is they don't take it seriously. And it's not just the finance and accounting. They don't take every department seriously. I mean, think about it. Most startup founders, especially, they really care about the product they're selling. And then they ignore the other functions of the business, whether it's IT, HR, admin, finance, customer service loop, all of that. You have to pay attention and take every single one of those seriously. But accounting tends to be the one where they take it the least serious of all. You know, they do it themselves for as long as possible, even though they're not accountants, they're not tax professionals, they don't understand payroll, they're not HR professionals. And it really is about taking that function seriously, because if you can't, you know, off that and do that, then you're not going to really be able to sell your product the best because you're distracted. So I think that's the biggest one, is that they just really don't take it seriously enough. They don't think it's important enough, to be honest. So for me, I think it's really that. And the other big pitfall is just not starting from day one with an intention of doing it right from day one. They don't have a plan in place.
I really like the name ProAdvisor too, right? Because especially when you're early stage, right? That's what people want. Like I call my accountant all the time, especially with the nonprofit stuff. I'm like, hey, this check's coming in. I live in Newark, y'all. I can't go cash in a $50K check. They're going to look at me like I'm crazy. I just want to make sure everything is good there. I want to learn more about kind of how your firm feels that advisory role, that sense of like, because to be honest, we probably have people on this call right now and they're like, I need an accountant. I need someone to help me navigate this space. You know, what is it about ProAdvisor?
Yeah, so we really do take our job seriously. A lot of our clients, they're all younger companies. Well, not they're all, but a lot of them are younger companies, and they're either traditional small business or they're actual startups. They're going through seed rounds. I've got some that are several stages into a seed, and they are really, really hitting it hard. And like I said, those are the ones that are taking it seriously. But for us, our advisory starts with the systems that you're using. How can you position, like you said, bank accounts? How many bank accounts should I have? Where should I bank? Which payroll software should I use? So it's about the technology. It's about the function of their finance. It's about how it all ties together. So a lot of the early stage startups are focused around, well, how do I do this in real time? What does it really mean in real life? And getting that burden off of their shoulders, because we've done all the research. We've already done it. You don't have to relearn that entire cycle. We know what we're doing.
So somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, Rebecca, I hear you. Your services sound great. I need an accountant, but I'm launching my business with like $500. I can't afford an accountant right now. What are some tips and strategies or even systems and software that they can use right now to help them build out that basic accounting function? So that way, once they're able to bring somebody on like you, they're not doing it in dire distress?
Yes. So one, they're probably not gonna like this. Research is your friend. So accounting, taxes, payroll, they're all really boring to a CEO because all they want to do is do the fun, exciting stuff of build the product, build the service, sell it, and get money in the door, right? But if you set your foundation wrong, it can really hurt you. I mean, I've seen it cripple businesses. Great ideas, amazing foundations. It has crippled businesses because they didn't do it right from the beginning. So if you can't afford to pay for an advisor, do some research. What does it mean? And this phrase right here is key. What does it mean to do business in a state, city, locality, and federal? Just doing business in, and find out what you need to do to be compliant, because that's where it kills you, is on the compliance side. After that, just do a little bit of research. Go to a Udemy class and find out, well, what is a balance sheet? What is an income statement? And how do they talk to each other? If it really is very, very confusing to you, you need to hire a professional. If you can't, learn it, which I believe anyone can learn it, but if it's just beyond it, you got to at least pay for one-time fee, get it set up correctly, have a little bit of advice. We do offer a consultation for free, a 30-minute call just to kind of work through some of your questions. But if you can't get it right done in the beginning, it can really hurt you.
For our pre-revenue listeners, so you got this idea for a product or service and you haven't gone to market yet, just comment in the chat. Let us know your pre-revenue. Just identify yourself. And the reason I want to say that, Rebecca, is because I'll tell you, when I started my for-profit arm teaching boxing to companies, I never knew how to send an invoice. I know it sounds so basic, right? But like I was getting all this pushback, like, oh, your invoice is all jacked up, but I had like no idea, how to really just even like utilize the software. But now, I fire those things off like boom. But for the pre-revenue people, they don't even understand how like right off the bat, you can basically dilute your brand from your inability to do the most basic functions of business.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, and this is going back to taking it seriously, is that your finance department totally reflects your entire business. And if you, like you mentioned, if you send out to your first customer your invoice and it is in some sort of weird PDF or even worse Word document, and you don't even have a process on how to pay, I mean, God forbid, I mean, that could really cripple you, because referral is the biggest thing that you can do to grow your business, is having that word of mouth, and you need to have it done right from the start.
So what are some, I know I probably already asked this, but I just checked the Q&A question. But again, okay, so early stage entrepreneur right now, what kind of things should they be doing right now to set up that basic accounting stuff?
Yeah. So one is research what it means to do business in your local city, state, county, right? And then also you want to make sure you got your bank account, that it's separate from your person. I don't care what kind of legal structure you are, get a separate bank account. And then get an accounting software. Xero, Xero is our preferred platform. It is relatively inexpensive. It's really awesome for categorizing. It works well. And if you are a true startup, it's actually the best software I've seen for going through seed rounds. So I'm sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to ask somebody to post that link for Xerox, you said?
Xero, Xero.
Okay, Xero.
Yeah, it's very similar to QuickBooks Online, but it is our preferred software, especially for startup founders. So get yourself anything that you can track your expenses. So even though you have a bank account, you need to be able to have something. If you're not in a software and you have $0, then use Google Sheets. It's totally free, and just track every single thing that you're doing, so that when you do hire an accountant, you've at least got some sort of tracking on that. That's definitely something that you need to use. Like I said, just take it seriously from day one. Make an appointment with yourself every month or every quarter. I'm going to go through my finances and track it all, so I know what's going on. How much am I spending on dues? How much am I spending on travel? And just track it. Even if it's a little bit wrong, it's better than nothing.
So you've had a lot of experience with entrepreneurs, startups, small businesses, whatever. Okay. You've seen what works. You've seen what doesn't work. Let's make it real for our audience. Let's give some tangible examples. You don't have to name the company or firm.
Yeah.
Talk to us about a successful business that set themselves up from the beginning, right? Versus someone who found themselves in some trouble.
Yes. Okay. So one is successful is they knew what they knew and they knew what they didn't know. They hired out those that were smarter than them and that could do it better. And also those that talent or whatever skill set that was a distraction from them from growing and selling. You know, a CEO's job is to sell their company. It's to manage vendors, customers, and employees. And that's it all day long. And if you're not doing that because you're distracted by everything else, then you need to quickly realize that. So the successful ones do that from the start, or they have a plan to do that. They know where they're going to go. They also realize that they also have a PACE plan. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys are because you guys are military, but they also have a PACE plan, which is if anything that an emergency happened, they've got their primary, their alternate, their contingency, and their emergency plan for finances. They're not spending every dollar that they earn because they know that at any point in time, COVID could happen or something else. So they have those plans and strategies for the future. They're actually writing it down. I mean, the business plan of your master's degree, if you went through that, it's important, but it's only important if you take it seriously. You should actually think about it. What are your obstacles? What are your opportunities? And go through that and try to do that. So successful business owners, they're in it all day long, and they build their business with intentionality in all their departments. The ones that aren't successful, they have these ideas and then they kind of just like haphazardly think that it's just going to be successful. They don't really hit the ground hard. Like you said, Mike, earlier, we'll bootstrap. And when you're bootstrapped, there's pressure on you and you have to do it or it fails and then you have to start over. It's the same thing. You have to go at it and you have to be really intentional about it. So the ones that fail are the ones that kind of go, I've got this idea and it should just sell itself. Or, okay, I'm doing business, but I'm just going to ignore and hide the fact that, because it's overwhelming. Accounting and taxes and finance and all that is really overwhelming when it's not your big job, your only job. And they tend to just hide it under the carpet and hope that it doesn't come back to bite them. It always does. The states, the city, the government, they will find you and they will fine you until your business is shut down. And then on top of that, instead of actually delivering great results to your customer base, you're dealing with all this headache when it could have just been resolved from the start. So I just think that, going after it with intentionality and taking your entire business seriously as if it is $1 billion business today, it matters.
So one thing that's great about you is not only you talking this stuff, but you're an entrepreneur yourself. Like you are talking about the lessons as you're living this experience. So I want to shift focus back to you and your venture. Okay. So you decide to launch this firm. All right. You made a little pivot. You go to ProAdvisor. Talk to us about your entrepreneurial journey a bit. How has the experience been from like idea to invoice to pivot to growth? Let's just insight for our audience.
It's extremely, I think most entrepreneurs that have made it past the point of full hardship, I think there's always going to be a little bit of that hardship in there, but where they see the light at the end of the tunnel, it's very exciting. It's very rewarding and extremely difficult. I think for me, there's just this kind of weird belief that entrepreneurs are born and that you have to be a certain type to be an entrepreneur. I just think that's a bunch of crap, to be honest. I was not designed to be an entrepreneur. I was an amazing employee. I loved it. I loved working for the man. I was killing it. And like I said, I started this because there was a huge passion for something I saw missing. And it was hard. It took me 6 months before I really committed to the business. I mean, Eric will tell you this. I kept going to him going, I think I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to quit. I'm going to go back. I can make a lot more money working for somebody else. And this is too hard. And after about 6 months from the start of the very first day of us starting this business, 6 months later, I finally had that aha moment going, I'm all in. And I was not designed to be this entrepreneur. So for me, it was kind of this cool, eye-opening, self-exploratory, self-awareness moment for me going, I can be who I want to be, and I can be a great business owner if I really put the effort in. And it's brought me a lot of satisfaction.
How long did it take you until you were able to actually like pay yourself from your business? Because I don't think that's some entrepreneurs talking about. And this is another good point because we're going to do a deeper dive in that, but nobody really tells you this stuff. It's kind of like, hey man, because you think people are killing it, but you never know that you find out they're paying themselves like $500 a month, but you have no idea.
So I think this is going to be kind of true across the board for most small businesses, and not like the startups. They could go from zero to hero overnight, right? Those are the weird ones. But the true businesses, especially the bootstrapped ones, I think the reason why businesses fail between years 1 and 5 is because it takes about that long for you to finally pay off whatever debt you incurred. Because when you're like, if you're married and your spouse works, it's easier to start a business. When you're both all in and you weren't planning to start a business, it takes a while. We lived off of our own personal debt for 3 years, and it can be very tough. And so every time we paid ourselves, it was like, all right, let's pay off our debt and we're just going to start over. But it takes, anywhere from 3 to 5 years to get to the point where that business can start to sustain itself. And a lot of people give up before that point, and that's where it becomes hard. It's just like, Eric going through the Green Beret and the selection. People give up before they're actually at the end and the finish line. And so I just think that for us personally, and I'll be honest with you too, like it took a little bit of time to get to that point, but there's nothing wrong with that. We had customers, we had good amount of revenue. I mean, it took us only about 1.5 years to get to 6 digits, but you still got to pay off what you incurred, and you still got to go through that and support your family. So now it's, it's just a little bit different. We are very excited where we're at.
Yeah, I think that's a power to like community, especially with an org like Bunker Labs, is because we can, these are safe spaces where we can have these conversations. Because you're out in Silicon, I mean, you guys were out in the Bay Area for a minute, right? I know you were doing some stuff out there, and business a lot of posturing, that kind of, oh, look at me. And so I want to ask you, as a small business owner, how was it navigating in that space, right? Did you find yourself like, oh, because I know some people, they think the startup way to do business is the small way to do business, and it kind of doesn't match.
It's so different. It's so different. And that's the reason why I say startup founder and small business owner, because they're totally different people, and they have different businesses that they need to grow. When you're growing a business, it's literally growing a living organism. That's the whole point, is will it survive after you? And if you have to be connected to it, you're not actually growing something that's living. It's just growing something that's dying. And for us going into the Silicon Valley, it was different. It was definitely different. And you're right. There's a lot of people not being super genuine about it. And I think that the same thing with relationships, marriages, parenthood, business owners, the military. When you're not real with how hard it is, and you're not real with the struggles, how can you expect anybody else to survive it and get better and grow? You have to be, honest about it, because it is a lot of hard work.
How do you advise a startup founder versus a business founder? Like, do you have them set up different foundations, right? Like if somebody is saying like, hey, I got this tech startup, I'm trying to go to the moon. Do you treat them the same and give them the same suite as you do like, hey, I'm just trying to sell candles or something?
In terms of software, it's pretty much the same. It really doesn't change. However, with the startup founder, I'm very, very harsh with them in the beginning of, you need to hire us. You need to make it part of your budget, because as soon as you try to go for your first round of fundraising at any stage, they're going to expect your finances to be in order. Whereas with a small business owner, I typically will go, I totally get it. You need to put food on the table. How about, talk to me for 30 minutes and then we'll talk in another year. And then we'll try to help them after that. But with the startup founder, like I said, I've seen more startups fail because they didn't heed the advice of get it done right from the beginning. And that's sad, because a lot of them are really solid businesses.
Let me tell you, Rebecca, the audience is really identifying with you because the questions are coming in. And I want to go and ask a question real quick. Somebody says, should they choose between hiring a CPA or accountant, or do they need both?
That's a good question. We are both at our firm, because we realize that, your CPA is sometimes disconnected from your real business, and your accountant is not always qualified. So I'll kind of break it down like this. Not everyone who calls themselves an accountant understands bookkeeping, payroll, taxes, or even what accounting is. So there's a lot of crackpots out there, unfortunately, and you're not held to the same high standard. But you definitely need to understand that your CPA may not be a business advisor, and they may not be a bookkeeper or tax expert in small business. So just understanding I think the biggest answer is understand who they are and their qualifications. Whether you have both or not is it's irrelevant.
I mean, in my humble opinion, again, I love your guys' services, right? This idea of an advisor, because I know my accountant, he calls himself like a partner. He wants to be there with the fact, because I'm telling y'all, it's just so much better when you can just pick up the phone and call people and help them work through this stuff. You don't want to just go in some rinky dinky accountant office like old school. There's a guy back there just typing away. Like, he's not part of your business. He doesn't understand what you're up against. But having someone like yourself in your firm, it's just a powerful tool to have. And I understand why you encourage those, like, put us on. Like, this should be part of your budget, because so many young entrepreneurs, early stage, get themselves in trouble.
Yeah. And another thing too, this may or may not come up, but I think it's important, is don't just hire your dad's accountant, your uncle's CPA, your family member, a friend of a friend. I mean, everything that is anything in business, don't listen to those who haven't succeeded or at least tried and failed at business, right? You're going to get a lot of advice, whether it's who your products are or what your products are, who your customers are, like across the board about it, especially in the accounting space of like, oh, just use, Uncle Joe because he's an accountant. Well, Uncle Joe may not understand business taxation and business accounting and payroll and how to grow a successful company. So definitely, if it's a referral from a business owner, take that seriously, but just ignore the rest.
So a lot of people are asking us, they want to get a consultation going. So we're going to put your email, your website in the chat. So that will be there for everyone. So I know people keep asking, say, how do we get in touch with Rebecca? We're going to have her website there. But I want to ask you too, again, going back to your business, right? Silicon Valley, and you can't get in an Uber without somebody running a startup or owning their own company. It's like, it's the culture out there.
Yeah.
How were you able to market your business to kind of distinguish it from the pack, right? Because you got this service. There's so many accounting firms out there, but talk to us about you as a small business owner, how you're able to go to market.
So it's very interesting. I think if you understood the accounting space a little bit, it's very old school. Even the startup accountants in Silicon Valley are very, very old school. I'm a CPA. I put my name on the door. I open my doors, and then business comes in. We set ourselves up for future proofing in some ways with our industry because we realized that we didn't want to be like that. So our name is different. Our service offering is a little bit different. Our differentiating factors are a little bit different. And second, and I think this is really important, is business owners don't always realize the impact of partnering with those other businesses that can help you lift up your current business. We are very strong partners with our software providers, Gusto, QuickBooks Online, Xero. We've got all sorts of other Bill.com, HubDoc. We're very, very strong partners with them because they're enterprise companies that service small businesses through the accounting space. And because of that, we were able to go to, pro marketing or co-marketing events and really help kind of lift us up on that. So we don't really struggle with, like if you were to research business CPA in San Jose, our name would almost come up, and we're a young company. So I think a lot of it has to do with who we are, how we differentiate ourselves, and the partners that we bring.
So I know I follow y'all on social media, and I know you were running the gambit. You were going to accelerators, you were speaking at incubators, you spoke to the VIR. Did that lead to any inbound leads for you all?
I think that it does. The biggest thing for me is constantly talking about what you do, whether you see a direct connection. And I don't want to discourage, because a lot of the CEOs out there, the ones that are starting, that's their job, is to sell and to deliver exceptional results. If you're going to these events and it seems like it's falling on deaf ears or it's not really coming back, I promise you it will. The first year to year and a half, we spent a lot of money traveling. Eric traveled for like 6 straight months talking at random events throughout the country. Airfare, hotel expenses, all this. And I sat back going, we have to feed our kids. We have 3 kids at home. How is this going to benefit us? And we didn't always see it right away. But when you get your name out there, the more you talk about it, it will start to pay dividends. So even though I don't necessarily see just like flooding in, it goes, oh, hey, I heard this one time you spoke here. I've got this business. And it turns out that they're going to give you a lot of business. So at some point it comes in, and I think and sometimes it's just a way of giving back to you. I love talking. I love helping other businesses out.
Just staying top of mind,
Yeah.
Just staying top of mind. Because the more I hear you talk, I'm like, man, if I hadn't had my account, I'd sign up right now. Just even in those interactions. Can you talk to our audience about the power of networking though in general, just the understanding of relationship building? Because I know and I didn't understand this as an entrepreneur until like more recently, probably within the last 6 months, is a lot of times we try to go outside of our communities, whether it's the veteran, the military spouse base, our local community, go get these services when there's people like yourself right here, you know, that you can leverage and just using that person right next to you. How did you grow into understanding that as well?
Yeah. So I think that for me, I'm a bit of an introvert, and networking events were really tough for me. Speaking was very, very tough for me. And you're absolutely right. You don't know where your next advisor is coming from, your next customer is coming from, your next supplier is coming from. And having, people like to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And you're never going to get to know someone or like them or trust them if you're not in front of people. So for those that feel like they maybe, have a great idea, or they already have a business that's getting some traction, but they feel themselves to be an introvert and networking is really hard, you've got to be able to kind of get past that. For me, and this is a bunker bruise. I used to always have like a little shot of whiskey or something before going to events, because I was so like scared to talk to people. I didn't like the whole like, I'm going to cut you off so I can get my word in. It was terrifying to me. And I realized over time, as I saw the fruit of it, it's a relationship business. Whether you're a service provider or not, it is a relationship business. And we've got to be able to connect and offer the advice. So when people, and this is kind of another point to this, if somebody asks you something, answer them. Just give back to the community, because at some point it's going to come back to you. And I really, really believe that.
Well, I can't tell that you're shy or bashful. I mean, you're coming across great. People ask you questions, I got somebody asking right now. They're saying, how can you as a ProAdvisor help a startup who is incurring personal debt survive and make it past the 3 to 5 year debt recovery threshold?
Okay. So one is, don't be scared of where you're at. Like I said, a lot of times it gets overwhelming. They hide it under the carpet, and then it becomes this huge thing. I would recommend that you, anybody on here really, read or listen to The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur by Mike Michalowicz. Profit First, same person, Mike Michalowicz. Those are awesome. And any one of his books, he's exceptional for the startup and small business that wants to be bootstrapped, the personal debt, because it's a constant reminder of how much we can do on little. You can do a lot more than you think you can when you're really intentional about it. So those books are really good for those that are getting that kind of debt coming through and going, well, how do I get out of it? How do I go through those steps and then get out of it? We did it ourselves in our business, and it's helped us get to the point where now we can pretty much do what we need to with the business. It's really surviving on its own, and it's fantastic.
I'll tell you, when COVID first hit, right? I do a service business, teaching boxing to companies. My revenue fell to zero. I got on my account and I was like, hey, how long can I stay in the fight?
Yeah. How long do I have?
We made the little cash flow thing. And I remember that, but just going through those scenarios and thinking, and all I did was I decreased my monthly draw, by 500 or whatever. Right. And just to see how far that was able to take me. Now, granted, I've been able to recover that lost revenue, but that's why I think, again, this stuff is so important. Like you say, being very intentional about how we leverage and use the money we already have, how to use the debt we already have to stay in the fight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think too, understanding that my heart, it really sucks. COVID has really hurt a lot of businesses. Everybody knows that. It's no secret. But the thing that I noticed from day one, as soon as some of the shutdowns, California and Silicon Valley was one of the first to shut down. And I saw day two, businesses starting to shut their doors because they weren't ready for it. And not only were they not ready for it, they couldn't even apply for the PPP and the EIDL if they wanted to, because their books are 3 years behind. There's just this huge catastrophe. So I think that for the listener who's asking about personal debt, be smart about it. Don't go too crazy on it. Yes, there's debt. Yes, there's credit cards and other loans, but be real smart about it. Only use what you need to use. Toilet Paper Entrepreneur is a great book for that.
All right. I got 2 more questions for you. Okay. The first one is going to come from our audience members though. She wants to know, how do you prepare for taxes in the first year of business? And how do you know what to prepare for? Because I think people are underestimating how important taxes are. And so they just want you to help reinforce the issue.
So I would rather you do your own bookkeeping than your own taxes, to be honest. But if for taxes, what you want to understand is going back to doing a little bit of core research on what does it mean to do business in a city, state, county, and country, and the federal government, and literally the words doing business. Because if you research that in the state and city website, it'll tell you what's required. The IRS is not what, I mean, you should be worried about them, but you should be really worried about your city, your state, and your local. That's the taxes that people get confused about, and they don't even know about it. They don't even realize they have to register in those areas. So in terms of taxes, yes, you need to do a federal tax return. But in California, if you're doing business in LA, you got to do a local tax return, a state tax return, you got county taxes, you got all sorts of use tax, and you've got the federal. So for taxes, you want to do your research ahead of time. From day one, I'm doing business. What does that mean to do business in a specific area?
Thanks. And my last question for you, Rebecca, because again, nobody talks about this, because I hear different things, right? You're a bootstrapped entrepreneur. I'm a bootstrapped entrepreneur. How do we pay ourselves, right? I've read the book Crucial Numbers, right? Or Critical Numbers, where it talks about you're a lazy entrepreneur if you're still taking draws. And that sounds all nice and dandy until something like COVID-19 hits and a lot of people can't make those payrolls and whatnot. So can we have an honest conversation briefly about how a small business owner should approach taking draws and paying themselves out of their business, just to kind of, and what point until they can actually afford to go on payroll?
So that's a great question. How you pay yourself in real time, like actually how you pay yourself, is different depending on the legal structure that you are. And that's beyond this kind of conversation, but just understand that if you are an LLC, a corporation, a sole proprietor, you pay yourself in different ways. So don't just assume I need to put myself on payroll. The second point is I disagree with that about the lazy entrepreneur. I think you should pay yourself almost from day one. Like, first and foremost, feed your family. Don't live on the streets. Don't survive that way. And then after that, that's where Profit First comes in, that book, Profit First. It talks about the discipline of, don't create a business that's going to starve you and your family and give you zero reward for the effort you put in. It is a lot of work. So figure out a way for you, even if it's $1 for every $20 your business makes, or 10 cents for every dollar you make. It doesn't matter. Pay yourself from day one, because you're right. What did you do when COVID hit? You took back from your draws so you could support your business. If you didn't have the habit of paying yourself, your business may not have survived.
Yeah. And my goal is to get to payroll level at some point, but it's just like, I don't know how to make that shift yet mentally.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like you think you have a certain level of revenue, but what do? Get a little bit more money. You start putting it into the business. You know, you start increasing your capabilities and stuff. And so just, you know, hitting that inflection point to where like, okay, now we can do the whole payroll thing and I don't have to just do these draws anymore.
Yeah, that's tough. I think I was doing the draws, you know, every like 3 months I would just go, okay, well now the business can help. And then I'm just going to take a bunch of money and do what we need to. That took a while. I actually, you know, I'm on legit payroll right now, and I have been for a while.
That's a big accomplishment. See, everybody talks
you don't realize it.
Yeah, everybody talks about selling the company and getting this big account. No, man, just getting on payroll. That's such a huge accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's a great feeling to know that, and how I did it. So this is my trick. It's not really a trick. It's about building up your runway. So I was doing owner draws for several years, and I built up enough, and I understood, of course I'm a CPA, so it's a little bit easier for me, but I understood my cash flow. I understood projecting out, 3, 6, 9 months in the future and more. And I could predict my business. And if you can, that's what I say, you've got to learn it. If you plan to either hire a CFO or you got to learn how to predict. And it got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to make the jump. I'm getting myself on payroll, and the business will work itself out, and I'll be able to kind of help that in the end.
Well, I appreciate you being honest with us. And man, it was great having you on today. I mean, I think our audience got a lot of takeaways. For our listeners who are still on for us, do us a favor. Go ahead and rate this meeting for us. scale of 1 to 10, actually. Just drop it in the chat. Let us know what you think. And we're also going to be pushing out a survey link that you all can fill out. So Rebecca, man, again, pleasure having you here. Thank you for allowing me to moderate this. And I look forward to following you some more at ProAdvisor CPA.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Rebecca, thank you so much. And Mike, thank you for the awesome facilitation. I think it really helps. You know, you're also living the entrepreneur life, so it helps with that conversation. And Rebecca, you know, just lots of engagement. And obviously this is something, as Mike put it at the very beginning, that entrepreneurs need a lot more information about demystifying the finances and accounting of their business. You know, and again, please drop your rating or any feedback for us in the chat. I will leave that open for the next couple of minutes. And Jada actually just dropped our survey link. It is an Airtable link. So we really appreciate it if you just take the 2 to 3 minutes to fill it out, because it really helps us curate our content and the types of, you know, guests and businesses and information that you need to move your business forward. So Mike, Rebecca, thank you both so much.
And I want to give one more plug for Rebecca too. All right. This is a member of our community. She's within our network. So again, don't run out there and try to talk to somebody that you've never been in front of, whatever. Reach out to her, follow her company, ProAdvisors. They're doing dope stuff. Follow them on LinkedIn. She will make time. I guarantee, you know, so please just leverage this community. This is a great network. We all want to win. We all want to support and help each other. So it's on you to take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we dropped her contact link from her website in the chat. So you can all click on that and fill out her little form. And I'm sure she'll get back to you and tell her, you know, how much you enjoyed this session as well. So thanks you guys so much.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Bye.